you try to win, but it's not the most important thing. We had two matches, if you want to call it, against MLS teams. Now it's time to raise the level, and now we get three of the best teams in Europe. I don't know the way they are going to face the game. I don't know if they want to win the tournament. I don't know if they want to win the derby. I don't know. I know what I want, and what I want is to give minutes to my players, to try to improve, to make mistakes, to repeat in training exercises to try to stop those mistakes, to make the new players, in spite of we have only two, but to make the new players try to understand the teammates and the teammates to understand them. So it's part of our preparation.
Jose, given what you just said then about the preparation, is it a bit surprising that you are actually playing Manchester City, because they are clearly a big domestic rival. They're in the same city as you. People will build the game up. So why?
I think it's nice. It's nice for US and for US fans. I think obviously it's very good for Real Event. Real Event deserves everything from us because the conditions they provide for us, the level of organization they provide for us is absolutely phenomenal. So they deserve absolutely everything from us. I think commercially is very good for both clubs. And there is always a little bit of rivalry. There is always a little bit of an extra ingredient. But for me, is a friendly. I'm not going to jump to celebrate any goal. I'm not going to cry any goal we concede. It's preparation. For me, the European Super Cup is a match, and West Ham is a match. And after that, every match is a match. But of course, we feel a responsibility to Real Event. We feel a responsibility to the American people that loves soccer. We feel responsibility for Manchester United fans. And we couldn't play Manchester City last year in China because of bad conditions. In here, no excuses. The conditions are phenomenal. The organization is phenomenal. So let's play the game.
Jose, is it fair to say that your rivalry with Pep last season didn't quite live up to expectations? And would you prefer there to be, I don't know, more needle between the two of you?
It was not a surprise for me. It was a surprise for the people that was selling the rivalry. I keep saying the same. We worked together for 3 years. We shared a dressing room for 3 years. For 3 years, we were laughing and smiling with victories and crying with defeats. For 3 years, we defended the same club, and our relation was so good for these 3 years. After that, he became Barcelona manager, and I was Real Madrid manager in a very specific moment of both clubs, where one was the top club in Europe, and the other one was a giant in trouble, and the fight become, in a country like Spain, become a fight of two clubs, because the distance to the others is a huge difference, and the competition was all about us. So it happened. When Pep came to England, I was absolutely sure that with the type of competition we have in England, I was sure that was not about United and City, Mourinho and Pep. I was sure of that, so I'm sorry if we disappointed you.
Might you start Marcus Rashford and Lukaku together tomorrow for the first time, and also With regard to Marcus, has he got the potential to ever be a number 10 for you? His pace and his ability?
I don't think Marcus is number 10. I don't think so. I think Marcus is a pure attacking player. He's not a player with that quality to play between the lines, to assist, to move, to create. I don't think Marcus is that. I think he's an attacking player, can play with two, can play with one, can play through the sides, can play everywhere. He has a good working rate too in case of you demand from him a little bit more defensively. Can he play together with Lukaku? He can. He played together with Zlatan in the same team. He can play with Lukaku, no problem at all.
Yeah. Rodney Marsh, Sirius XM. On a personal note, Jose, with the Premier League coming season, how important is it to you to finish above Pep Guardiola?
It's not important at all.
You've got Romelu Lukaku. It looks as though Chelsea have got Morata. Is that the way you thought it would work out?
I'm not interested in what Manchester United, what Chelsea Football Club does, really. We need a striker, yes or yes. We need it with Zlatan in his best conditions. We needed one to give cover, to give options. Him and Marcus was not enough, especially after Zlatan injury. And we got a big player, a player that I can compare with what he was a few years ago, because he worked with me a few months, like 4 or 5 years ago. His development was very, very good. So we think we have a player that is now a top player in Europe. Has to prove it at the highest level. There is always this point of you have to prove it at the highest level. And now he has to do it for Manchester United. He has to do it in Champions League matches. But I think he has amazing qualities. I think Chelsea was obvious that they were going to sign a striker, especially after the situation with the manager and Diego. Was clear that they were going to sign a striker. They did it with Alvaro, and Alvaro is a very good player for them.
Okay, last two questions, Rob and James.
Talked about bringing a few more players in, but the group that you've got with you here, are you hoping to keep that group together, or is there still a chance to make one or two of those to leave before the end of the transfer window?
The problem with us is that we have 4 players that they cannot play football now, not even training. So that it looks like our group is big, but it's not, because they can't even train, and the time for their recovering is really long. We look at Marcos, no chance before December, as an example. So our squad is not so big. Everybody knows, because I told it very objective. I would like 4 players. I asked for 4 players, and I'm ready to go from 4 to 3, because the market is difficult, because some clubs they think the market different than others. We are a club that is not ready to buy and buy and buy non-stop. We are not a club that is ready to pay what the clubs want us to pay. So I'm ready to go from 4 to 3, and with these 3, I just give a better balance to the team and to the squad, and give us better conditions to compete.
Just follow up from that point you make, the market being a bit crazy and difficult. Does it surprise you when you see the sums that are involved? Certain players, in particular, Carl Walker at Manchester City, spent almost 50 million on a fullback. Does that surprise you, those inflated prices in the market, in the current market?
It doesn't surprise me, really. It doesn't surprise me, because I keep saying there is big economical power in every club that allows the clubs to say no, or to say you pay what I want or you don't get it. I can imagine that Man City would like to pay 25 million for Kyle. I can imagine that. But I am sure that they knocked in Spurs' door and they told this is the price. And if you don't pay, you don't get. Then you have the option to pay, or you have the option to say no. So the market will be always what people ask and what people pays. And the strange thing is that now, you know, I'm used to pay or to see teams playing big amounts for big players, and now everybody's paying big amounts for good players. And there is a difference between good players and big players. And now the figures go really crazy also for normal players.
Okay, one last question from US media.
You talked about this game for preparation. How have you found the environment, the facilities here in the United States to prepare for the upcoming season?
It's the best. The best. And I will try everything with my club to be back, because with all the respect, Asia is beautiful. Commercially, is fantastic for the clubs, but the conditions to work are completely different. In here is about the facilities, is about the organization, and everything is perfect. So we are going to try. We are going to try to persuade the club and real event to bring us back again.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'll just say, Mourinho, a big fan of America and all it has to offer, particularly, of course, when it comes to the magnificent training facilities which Manchester United have been using over there. And he spoke about various things, including, very interestingly, about the transfer market, the state of play there, how all the big teams are spending big money. But he did say United won't be just spending money hand over fist. There is a limit to what we're going to do. He again spoke about transfers and how ideally he wanted 4 players in, but it looks like it's only going to be 3, which obviously means we're waiting on 1 more.
I think it's interesting that he comes out, you know, with that statement, because obviously it means that he's a bit flexible. I think he might have, from what he was saying there, he seems a bit shocked as well about the amounts that are being paid for players, ordinary players, as he
difference between big players and good players.
Exactly. We know what he means there, that it has gone stupid, you know. I mean, Kyle Walker, 50 million. I'm not saying that Kyle isn't a good player, but, you know, 50 million for a defender is you know, a fullback is ridiculous, isn't it? But it's nice to see that, you know, he's got that working relationship with the board, that he can turn around and say to them, right, okay, listen, you know, if we're not going to get it for the price that we need, I'm not going to be stupid, I'm not going to be stubborn. We can get by with 3. Ideally, I would like 4 for that extra little bit of leeway and change of formation and balance that might give to the squad. But he's not making a song and dance about it, and I think that's quite refreshing, really.
Absolutely, yeah. He was also asked about Marcus Rashford, who we'll hear from actually in the press conference. He's the player who's been put up to face the media. And Marcus, we know his ability, we know his talent. Joseph says he's an out-and-out striker. He doesn't have the particular qualities needed if you want to play as a number 10 and getting in between the lines and having that kind of eye for unlocking defences. He wants to be leading the line or playing from a wide position where he can affect play.
I think you've got to play to your players' strengths, and I think that is playing to Marcus's strengths. Out wide, he can use his pace, his attacking flair, where he can beat players and come inside and get shots off. I think down the middle, as we've seen in both these games, he looks to be playing on the shoulder more for me,
than he has done probably in some of the league games that we saw last season. Excuse me, got in quite a few times, one-on-ones with the keeper. No, probably should have scored 3 in the first game. And it looks to me to be looking to play those balls in more. We're looking at using Marcus in behind people, and I think that's exactly what he was saying about it. You know, you've got people like Juan Matas, you've got Mkhitaryan, you've got people that can unlock defences in that number 10 role, as we call it now. But I think Marcus's strength is running in behind and getting at people, either be it wide or down the middle.
But it looks as though, from what we've seen on tour so far, United could be adopting a 3-5-2 system. Certainly got a lot of centre-backs who can fill those 3 slots anyway. But if Marcus can form a partnership with Romelu Lukaku, they could be lethal together. Romelu is no slouch either, but he's a brute of a guy, isn't he? Big, powerful, strong striker, knows how to finish. Marcus is lithe, he's slick, he's fast, he's agile. They could form a York and Cole-esque style partnership.
They could. I mean, you need 2 different types when you're playing 2 up front, and that's what I think the new system that he started to play and have a look at here gives him that sort of flexibility to play 2 up front. I think last season it was always going to be 1, wasn't it? We always, you know, we played that 1 striker up front, and you know, that was Zlatan for most of the time. We could still do that. He's still got that in his armoury to play that type of system when it's needed. But I think maybe one of the things that was levelled at us last season was that we didn't maybe score enough goals from other places, and we could do with another person up there to finish the moves off that we were certainly creating and weren't scoring enough from. 2 up front gives you that extra man in the box. And yes, I think it's going to be interesting this season, because if those 2 can get together, I mean, there's still a chance that Zlatan might be signed back on. We're not sure about that. It's not closed. And he's got very, very different options. He's got obviously Martial. I mean, he could play up front with Lukaku. What a pairing that would be. Both 2 brutes up there, and both with pace. So he's got a lot of options up front now. Yeah,
and Lukaku comes into a team which is aiming for trophies. All due respect to Everton, it's not the same level, is it? Romelu Lukaku will now have to perform on the Champions League stage. He'll have to do it in the big games against the big teams. And Jose is looking forward to seeing what the next chapter in his career is. He said he's worked with him obviously previously, but he's ready now, says Jose, to be in a big team.
Well, it's interesting, I think, as well, what Romelu said about Jose. When he was at Chelsea, he said, we didn't leave on bad terms. There was no bad vibes between us. I needed to go and play. I couldn't get the game time that I was wanting at Chelsea, but I've got great respect for him. That's why he's come back. I think Pogba's had a bit of a thing in that as well, with the great friendship they've got. But I think he wanted to come back and work for Jose. Yeah, he wants to blossom underneath Jose, and I think, you know, that about him not scoring in big games, I think he's probably not scored against us, and maybe Liverpool is the other side, but he's scored goals at international level, so, you know, you can't really say that he's not scored at the highest level. You're playing international football, you're playing against the best defenders in the world. So, you know, I think that's a little bit unfair. He's still got a hell of a lot of things to learn. You know, he's still quite raw at times. I thought his goal the other night was fantastic.
Yeah, good composure.
Really good composure. Just waited, let everybody fall on the floor, and then again could have hit it with the defender coming back. Knew that he had to get him out of the way, and just slotted it back in the other side. I thought it was a fantastic goal.
Yeah, really excited to see how it goes for Romelu this season. Okay, Marcus Rashford has made his way in front of the media over in the States there, so let's hear from him now.
Hi everybody, welcome to the press conference. We have Marcus Rashford here. He'll be taking your questions. If you'd like to ask one, if you just put your hand up and we'll come to you. It will be conducted in English, so all questions in English, please. So, okay, Jeremy?
Marcus, what did you learn playing with Zlatan this season?
Yeah, I think there was a lot to learn from him, not only from the football side of things, but just his mentality, the way he trains, the way he prepares for the games. they're the main things that I took, because it's difficult. We've got different playing styles, so to take a lot from his actual game is difficult. So I had to look outside of just football itself and try and take things from his personality and what makes him great.
Okay, Jim.
Hi, Marcus. Jose has said that this season career will be your third effectively. The first team will be a lot better, let's say, than last season. So what for you is a lot better? What do you hope and expect to do?
I think the performances last year, I mean the stats are what brings it down last year, so they're the things that you want to try and bring up, but you know, they're not the things I was concentrating on solely on last season. So I think season by season I have different aims and different responsibilities in the team, and I think this year hopefully you take more responsibility on, and that's the aim this year.
Marcus, the manager said he doesn't see you playing in the number 10 role next season. How much are you looking forward to playing with Romelu Lukaku, and how often did you play with a strike partner in the academy?
Well, I've only been playing up front for maybe 2 years, so we've usually played as one striker up front in the academy, so it's different for me. But having two up front, it's definitely beneficial. So I think it's once you get used to it and you start to build relationships and connections, and it's a positive formation to play.
How far do you think you've come out physically and as a footballer in the past 16, 17 months?
I think if you don't look at it as just football, like maturity plays a massive part in how you develop on the pitch, and I think that's been one of the main things for me. I've obviously matured a lot off the pitch, and it does change your game on the pitch, and I think that's the biggest thing, biggest difference.
Okay, Paul.
There's a lot of talk about you in the under-21s this summer that you didn't grow. How much do you benefit from having a full summer off, and what do you do to kind of recharge batteries?
I think just it's important to relax, and you know, it's at my age I'm still developing, I'm still growing, and obviously last year we played a lot of games. I think almost 60 games last season, so you know, you need time to kind of shut down and let your muscles and your body like regroup, and it's definitely needed, because now when I've come back I feel fresher than what I did towards the end of last season, you know, so I think it was needed.
Did you go away anywhere at home?
Yeah, obviously I went on holidays, and you know, just getting away from the environment that I'm always in, and just relaxing the brain as well as the body.
Strike partnership seems to be a thing of the past in football. Would you like it to come back? Would you like to play directly up front with Romelu rather than on that wide position there?
I think different games requires different tactics, and it just gives the manager one extra thing that he can use. And I think it's not only me and Romelu as well. We can play with Anthony and Romelu. We've got a few different options that we can play, and you know, this just it widens our chances of glory next season. So.
Okay, Simon.
Marcus, how much have you changed in the last 18 months from being just a lad in the academy to someone who's now an England international? You think about the game a lot more. How much have you changed?
I think, like I said before, it's maturity. I think it's you don't change anything. You just naturally mature as a person, and it changes what you do on the pitch. And I think that's been the main difference.
Are you aware of there's great consequences to the things that you do on and off the pitch?
Well, growing up at United, you're always aware of that from a very young age. So it's something that when you get into the first team, it doesn't change. So. For me, I've just been doing the same things as what I always do on and off the pitch, so nothing's changed in that aspect.
Okay, James.
United have lost two huge characters up front in Wayne Rooney as last week. There's two people who maybe would pull them through games when things weren't going right. How will things change for you and the other strikers? It's not a very young strike force, isn't it, without those sort of figureheads there?
Yeah, I agree with what you say. I think it's obviously going to be different, but there was a time when they wasn't the people that they were, so I think we have to develop and change the way we are as well to become what they were.
Did Wayne give you advice on how to cope with playing at football at such a young age? Of course he had the same sort of thing.
To be honest, he just let me kind of get on with it. I think if something was going a bit out of line, then he definitely would have stepped in, knowing him as a person, but I don't think he needed to. But yeah, he was always there to give me advice if I needed some, and I think that's, you know, it's losing that type of character is difficult, but you know, it's football and we have to move on.
Okay, David.
How much learning curve was last season? You came in previously quarterback and scored lots of goals, and you went sort of 3 months without scoring last season, even though you played a lot of games. How much of a learning curve was that for you, and how much have you learned from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different experiences, so I'm experiencing things last season that I hadn't experienced in the season before, and it puts you in good stead for the future and obviously for next season. So I think yeah, it does have a bit of it impacts you quite a lot, but how you recover from that and how you come out of that is what I was looking at, you know. It's not the be all and end all for me if I'm not scoring goals last season, but this season I've put more pressure on myself to do so and put more responsibility on myself.
Okay, James. Just sort of following on from that, Marcus, what you were saying about you're still obviously only very young, but do you feel there's actually a lot more pressure on your shoulders because of the position you play in, because of who's left? There's no hiding place at all for you when some younger players might be able to sort of in and out?
No, I don't see it. There's always pressure playing at United, so I don't think, in terms of pressure, I don't think it changes, but you put it on yourself more. I think year on year that will only increase and go up, so the responsibility that I put on myself is a thing that's changed. I think the fans always expect the best from me, so the pressure doesn't change.
Okay, the last two, it's Gary and the gentleman at the back, sorry.
Marcus, hi. I know you spoke earlier about the advice and the influence of selection around the place. And I know Romelu's a lot younger, but he seems to have been around a long time and lots of experience. So you have a relationship with him on the pitch. What's your relationship with him off the pitch? Is he a player you look to?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, he's gone through a phase in his career now, and he's coming up to his prime years, and you know he's been scoring a lot of goals for the last 3 or 4 years. So I think, you know, he's in a good place in his career, and he's probably come here at the right time. So I think what I can learn from him and what we can learn off each other is when we play together, it's getting the relationship off the pitch and bringing it onto the pitch. So we're still getting to know each other off the pitch, and that's what a team is. You know, we have to get to know each other on and off the pitch.
Okay.
Marcus, if you could just talk about playing this match against your rivals for the first time outside of Manchester, and especially playing it here in Kingston.
Yeah, it's a different feeling playing the derby in a different place. You know, we're so used to it being in Manchester, and you see familiar faces all the time. But at the same time, I think it's good to kind of bring it elsewhere and let the fans see a different game, something that they're not used to. I know it's branded as a friendly, but I think when two teams play together, they both want to win. So naturally, it's never a friendly for the people that are on the pitch. So it's a game that the players are definitely looking forward to, and I know the fans will be looking forward to it as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Marcus there spoke of his more mature approach to life these days, and judging by his performance in front of the media there, he is spot on, because he was brilliant, wasn't he?
He's too
such
intelligent
a confident
to be a
speaker.
footballer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one so young, he's brilliant the way he speaks. I've been impressed with him in that respect ever since he's got into the team. You know, he's mature beyond his years, really, you know, and everybody talks about him when he's training. He wants to learn, he wants to listen to people, he wants to try things, waits behind and does extra training as well. And he looks to me as though maybe he's just bulked up a little bit. We were talking about that as we were watching that, and maybe just getting that little bit more of a muscular frame, which will give him that bit of an edge. And you know, his blistering pace, nobody can really stay with him in a foot race at all.
He was very honest about his hopes and aspirations for the coming season. When asked about the previous campaign, he said, well, his performances he thought were good, and they were. Just the statistics don't quite back them up as much as they'd like to in terms of goals and assists. 11 goals last season, he'll be looking for substantially more than that this term.
Yeah, and I think when you look at some of the chances that he did miss, he probably should have been pushing towards maybe 17 or 18. But that's another thing that he can work on. You know, he's finishing. You know, I don't want to keep harping back, but he's the third chance that he had against LA Galaxy. He's tried to just slot it in. Maybe he could have gone round the keeper. Those are those type of things that, as a striker, you're always thinking about, you're always working on, and that's one thing that he will be working on, because you can tell that that's what he's really saying there, that I should have maybe scored more goals. I could have done this better, I could have done that better. He's only young anyway, and he's working with some great players. He's working with one of the best managers in the world, best coaches in the world. He'll be a fantastic player. He's maturing all the time.
Yeah, certainly is. And when asked about his relationship with Lukaku, obviously it's in its infancy. They've only just become teammates, but there are signs there it could prove very fruitful, and Marcus himself seems to relish the idea of playing alongside Romelu. I
think as long as you're playing, whoever you're playing with, you've got to have a relationship with. You know, he's got that relationship with Anthony Martial because he's been there and they've been together a lot longer. He's got to get that relationship with Romelu, and it's learning about the games and the different aspects that they bring to the team and how you fit around them and how you play with them, and that will come over time. And really, we was just saying before that they've only had one game, haven't they? Really, because they've changed the teams in both the games. So really, the players have had one game each.
Yeah.
So they're still working out the system. They're still trying to find out about that. And you know, it'll be interesting to play against Manchester City in a derby, first derby that's played abroad.
Yeah.
It'd be a great spectacle.
Yeah, Marcus, of course, being an academy graduate, being from Manchester, means that we go into this abroad derby with actually Manchester talent on the pitch, which I don't think our neighbours will.
I don't think they have they? It's strange. I don't think they've had that for quite some time.
Spent a lot of money on their academy and bringing players through.
They have.
Not seen any signs of them, really.
Well, you know, academies are there to furnish your first team, really, because if they're not, then what's the use in having one?
Yeah.
You know, and we have got players coming through, and some have made it, some haven't. Marcus is a shining light. He's been absolutely fantastic since he's got into the first team, and he was probably pushed into it, really. You know, that first game. Wasn't really expecting to play. There was an injury. He comes on, he's played, and that's been it. He's just blossomed from there.
Yeah, sliding doors, didn't it? That moment.
Yeah.
Took his chance, and at the moment he's just doing brilliantly, isn't he? Well, he was after the media speaking to MUTV's Dave Stahl.
Marcus, how does it feel looking ahead to the first Manchester derby outside of the UK?
Yeah, I think it's a different feeling not being in Manchester and playing a Manchester derby, but I think everyone's looking forward to the occasion, and it's good to give the fans out here something different as well.
And you've obviously enjoyed yourself very much in Manchester derbies before, so do you think this will be a different one for you guys, the team, and sort of to see how it all unfolds?
Yeah, I think it's different because, you know, it's being branded as a friendly, and it's something that we're not really used to. So I think going into the game, both teams will be wanting to win because it's only natural for the players to do that. So it's a game that everyone's looking forward to.
And when you see a fixture like this, no matter where it is, does it bring back memories of that goal that you scored in the derby?
Yeah, it does bring back some memories, and you know, all you want to do is recreate them moments, and that's what the aim is.
Obviously, it means a lot though, being a local boy.
Yeah, that's sort of the difference between a lot of some of the other players. Growing up there, you have that sense of rivalry, and you know, it's just what you brought up around. And I think the players that buy into it, they're the ones that tend to exceed in the derbies.
And how about the tour so far? How have you felt it's gone for you on a personal level in terms of the games, but also the training as well?
Yeah, I think it's been a very good start. We've had a lot of training sessions at the start before the first game, and then we got into the games, and then the training's slowed down a little bit, but you know, it's still intense, and it's what we need at this stage of the season, and hopefully we can take that into the games.
And obviously it's also special that the two sides coming together for this game and also auctioning the shirts off afterwards, you know, all sort of uniting, if you like, in a good cause.
Yeah, that's something of massive importance, obviously, with what's happened, and hopefully we can raise a lot of money for the charity. And you know, all we want to do now is help the families of the victims, and I think that's what both clubs have put forward.
Enjoy the game. All the best. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good point about Marcus. He understands the derby, he knows it. And when he scored at the Etihad, we were just saying, weren't we? He was the first to score in a derby from Manchester since you did it.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. When I learnt that stat. It's a long time, isn't it? So I think it was 78 when I scored, and it's a long time for a Manchester-born player to score in a derby. Let's hope he can do it again on Friday morning.
Absolutely, yeah, it would be wonderful. Okay, now the last game was against Real Salt Lake, and it was an interesting affair, wasn't it? Obviously, players get more minutes on the pitch, they get familiar with each other a bit more, and it should all help going into the friendly derby. Yet we conceded first against the American side. Yeah, it was not a bad goal, actually. You know, Phil Jones there getting muscled off a little bit by the forward, but this was a really good strike from Mkhitaryan. I think Mickey's looking so sharp. It's looking in great form,
He's made some fantastic runs from midfield, just going past people like they're not there. We've seen him do it last season, but he looks really, really sharp to me. And that was a really good goal. And this, I think, is a fantastic goal. Lets them go. Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant composure.
It's easy to snatch at that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been in that position a number of times yourself.
And probably, you know, a couple of seasons ago, he might have gone and snatched at that, but just wait for everybody to fall on the floor and put it away. And this...
Still don't know what he's doing there, Antonio.
It's a bad challenge. It's not a red card, I don't think.
No.
I mean, he has a good talking to by the referee. And it just seemed to take an age, and I'm not sure what happened in the interim. I mean, we're hearing a story that maybe the referee had asked Jose to take him off, substitute him, and he didn't want to, so he said, I'm sending him off. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it wasn't a sending off offence for me, but it was a bit of a rash challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a strange situation because Antonio is normally such a calm and composed customer, isn't he?
I think we have seen it. He has done a few rash challenges over, but
he's got that aggression in his game.
He has, but I think that's what you need as a player. And I think as a defender, you certainly need it at times. But it just was he wasn't going anywhere, was he? Whether he'd given him a little bit of a go in himself, you know, off the ball or whatever, I don't know. But it was a bit of a rash challenge, but never a sending off.
But the game was played at altitude, which will help in terms of the fitness.
Rush of blood to his head, then.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever played at altitude yourself? Like
I don't think I have, you know. I may have done. I mean, we went on tour to America when I was at United twice at the end of the seasons. Played at Portland, played in, you know, so I don't really know. It never was something that anybody mentioned to me, so just get on with it, don't you?
So the 2 wins out of 2 sets it up nicely for the City game. You looking forward to that one? It's arguably the standout game of the whole pre-season fixture list.
Well, I don't know. I think you've got some
Real Madrid and Barcelona.
You've got some tasty ones after that, but
absolutely,
it will be great. It's you know, they're both wearing the Manchester B on the shirts, which is great as well.
Yeah, and then they'll be auctioned off those shirts, won't they? And the money raised
really good. You know, that's a great togetherness. And as Marcus was saying there, yes, it's a pre-season game, but there's still that little bit of an edge to it because it is a derby game. And they will both be wanting to win it.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't want to lose a derby at any level, in any competition. That's it for Mourinho's press conference. Thanks for staying up and joining us. Thanks for Stitch as well. We'll see you very soon.